Hello, this is Joe from Nerd and Korea. We are doing another deep dive deck. We're looking at Xavier Sal, Infested Captain today. I'm pretty excited to do this one. He's an interesting one. He's all about populating and proliferating, and he can set up this cycle where he kind of keeps doing it around and around and around. So let's take a look. So yeah, he is a black, green, and a blue for a 3/3. 3 for a 3/3. Yeah, okay. Again, he is Sultai, right? He's our Sultai commander. You can tap him, remove a counter from another creature you control, or permanent you control, not creature. Populate. That means making a copy of a creature token. It has to be a creature token. It cannot be a different kind of token. Or you can sacrifice another creature, proliferate. Activate only as a sorcery. So yeah, he can potentially, if you can keep pumping out creatures, he can just keep proliferating over and over and over. It is activate only as a sorcery, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Proliferate is one of the strongest mechanics in the game. There's again, we're going to use some infect here, so we can sneak in that win con, and there's just so much you can do with it. It's getting counters on your creatures is just one of the easiest ways to get extra value, and this kind of amplifies that. Populate is easily abusable as well. We do have a lot of ways to get some major value out of Populate. Having a sack outlet can be very useful as well. Again, he's basically a sack outlet. He doesn't need to tap to do it, so there's a downside, but he is functionally a sack outlet. If you don't have a way to untap him or anything, it's only once per turn, but you still might get the value there. As long as you have a creature or a counter, you can keep activating him. Really, all you need is any creature, any counter, and you can activate him, right? Okay, the color challenge. We're actually getting close to finishing our color challenge here. You can see Sultai at the bottom corner, not quite the corner, but anyway. We did all the dual colors. Most of the, we've done all the monocolors now too. Most of the tricolors, most of the quad colors even. Yeah, we have 3 left. We've got Abzan, Witch, and Colorless left. That's it. Then done. For colors, I'm pretty sure I'm doing Peregrine Dynamo. I started working on it, but haven't really kind of found something I like there. I'm getting there. Okay. He is listed as one of the top infect commanders because of how easily you can get his proliferate to trigger. Again, he loves infect, right? Anything with proliferate and infect is just like a match made in heaven. Note that you can sacrifice any creature to proliferate. It does not require a token. So counters to populate, you do need a counter. Proliferate, you don't need a creature token. You can just sacrifice any creature, which is a very useful option to have, right? You might want to just sacrifice. We do have creatures where you're going to proliferate them and then sack them and get a whole bunch of extra value out of that. So any death triggers can be easily triggered. I wish I found a better way to say that, but yeah. Can be easily activated is what I should have said, yeah. Untapping him allows you to keep activating these abilities multiple times per turn. Remember, it is at sorcery speed, but that does not mean only once per turn. It means only on your turn, but you can still do it multiple times. His abilities are only able to be activated at sorcery speed? Yeah. So you can't wait until someone else's turn to do it. You really gotta make the most out of him on your turn, is what it's all about. Okay, the deck price is $38.80. The design objective is turn Proliferate Populate into an easy vehicle for value. It's all about getting extra value and the win con, frankly, but mostly extra value. This is determined using the TCG player market price, and you can check the deck on moxfield.com. I'm putting the link in the description as always. Alright, I actually made a mistake. I had a pretty major oversight, so I finished making the whole video and then I was preparing for our next video on extra turn cards, and now I went, oh, I forgot a super important card in this deck. It is Magistrate's Scepter. Okay, so this is a 3 mana. You can pay for it, tap it, put a charge counter on Magistrate Scepter, so you do need one charge counter first. That's a bit of a tricky thing. It does slow it down a little bit, but you can tap it to remove 3 charge counters from Magistrate Scepter. Take an extra turn after this one. And it doesn't sacrifice the scepter or anything. So basically, get 4 charge counters on it, tap it, sack 3, proliferate 3 times, do it again. So it is not technically infinite turns, but it is an extra turn at least every turn. You can also use your untap effects to untap this. I think that would work. Take an extra turn after this one. I assume that would mean more turns, but anyway. It doesn't really matter because you can just every turn tap it, proliferate, tap, and then yeah, get another turn, another turn, another turn. So pretty huge. Also, the deck is even cheaper with it. $38.60, so 20 cents cheaper. Not too shabby. Okay, part 1. Xavier Sal, Infested Captain, about the commander. So this is kind of more about how the commander works in the deck, or interacts with the deck, is what this is really about. So this commander can do a lot with very minimal setup. He is able to combine easily with counters, infect, and token themes. So he's kind of got a lot there, right? There's a lot of meat on that bone. Because you can use so many different themes and really maximize. You really want kind of a mix of these things. So he's nice to have just options with, really. Yeah, he actually requires both counters and tokens to be effective. If you're not getting both, you're really missing out with him. So here we go. High synergy cards. We've got Basking Brood. Scale for 1 and a green is a 2/2. He is devoid. So first of all, he's technically no color, which may come in handy. Who knows? And for 1 and a green, adapt 1. If this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Super useful to start proliferating. Remember, the problem with proliferate is getting that first counter down. If you can get that first counter down, hey, proliferate is easy. It's all about the first one, though. If there's nothing to proliferate, you can't proliferate. Yeah. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on this, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice to this creature to add a colorless. So you can proliferate. If you proliferate on him, he will get a +1/+1 counter. He'll make this 0/1 Eldrazi, and then you can either have that 0/1 Eldrazi and use it, or sacrifice it straight up for mana. So yeah, really what you need is something to sacrifice to keep proliferating. And that's what this gives you. This sets up your kind of like cycle with Xavier. Master Biomancer. As I was just saying, the tricky part is getting that first +1/+1 counter down. We actually have 3 things that can do that. Master Biomancer is probably the best one. Renata of the Hunt and Master Chef as well. But anyway. 2 green-blue. For this elf wizard, a 2/4, and each creature you control enters the battlefield with additional number +1/+1 counters on equal to this power, and has mutants in addition to its other types. So yeah, especially if you start putting +1/+1 counters on him, this gets crazy, right? Even if he doesn't have any +1/+1 counters, everything coming into the battlefield is going to get +2/+2 as soon as they come in, and you can proliferate those counters. Again, they are +1/+1 counters. I should be careful about what I'm saying, because +2/+2 counters do exist. But yeah, they're dumb, so don't use them. But yeah, he will just really set you up well. And if you can get any +1/+1 counters on him and start proliferating, kind of turns into like not quite a win con, but making a win very, very easy. Corpse Jack Menace. So 2 black-green for this 4/4. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a creature, put twice that many +1/+1 counters on it instead. So again, Master Biomancer, any creature coming in will automatically get +2/+2. Corpse Jack will make that +4/+4 for every single creature. And then you can just proliferate. Oh my. Yeah. Tender Wild Guide. Okay, this is very much getting off, well, not completely off the +1/+1 counter thing, but so 1 and a green. The thing, this is usually most people don't like mana dorks that cost 2 mana for good reason. If you want that early game ramp, that doesn't really do that. So fair enough, right? You want a 1 mana dork if you're ramping with it. Yep, fair enough. That's not what this is for. This is not early game ramp mana dork. This is utility mana dork. Okay, so there's Offspring 2, meaning if you pay 2, you may put an additional, if you pay it, when this creature enters, create a 1/1 token copy of it. So you've got a mana dork that you can make a copy of, and then you can populate those copies. So yeah, you're going to be able to just keep making more mana, basically. Not only does it have tap to add 1 mana of any color, you can tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So if you don't tap them for mana, you can just put +1/+1 counters on all of them, and then you can start proliferating those +1/+1 counters. And just get a whole bunch of extra value. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Pentad Prism. Okay, we've got Sunburst on this. This is 2 mana to cast it, and this enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each color mana spent to cast it. So use 2 different colors of mana to cast this, and it gets 2 charge counters. And then you can remove a charge counter from it to add 1 mana of any color. That means every time you proliferate, you can make another charge counter, right? So yeah, you can just pretty much use this as a mana battery from Proliferate, where you can use them right away and take the charge counter off, or you could just save them up and have a turn where you've just got an insane amount of mana. Also, what's really important is that this does not require tapping. This is just take a counter off, done. So yeah, you'll be able to do this pretty easily, and yeah, just potentially have extra mana for every time you proliferate, every turn, or have this huge amount that you can just use anytime you. Part 2, the plan. What are the deck objectives? Alright, always ramping and fixing, especially tricolor. You gotta make sure you're fixing. Proliferate. Surprise, surprise. Populate. Very important little thing there. And then our win cons, what we're gonna look at. I should change that to finishers, not win con. But anyway. Devoted Druid. Put a -1/-1 counter on it and untap her. Also, yeah, tap for 1 green. This is once again costing 2 mana for the mana dork. A lot of people get pretty growly about that. Again, it's not that ramp mana dork we're talking about. This is utility. Especially, she comes in, if she gets a +1/+1 counter, start proliferating those -1/-1s, and the +1/+1s, they cancel out. So what you're going to do is you're going to start amassing +1/+1 counters on her, and then you can just tap her, untap her, and make pretty much like a Pentad Prism again. Make just a pile of extra mana if you want it. It's basically another battery. Xiangyangu, Wild Crafter. 2 and a green for this Planeswalker. Starts with 3 loyalty. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has tap to add 1 mana of any color. Also -1 to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Just so useful in this deck. So all of your creatures will probably end up being mana dorks if you want them to be. Also, you can get that first +1/+1 counter down on a creature. Insidious Roots. I love this one. This is another one I thought was like, this is going to go up in value. And I got it, and then it dropped. Every time. Anyway, okay, so this is an enchantment. Creature tokens you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 0/1 plant creature token and put a +1/+1 on each plant creature token, or each plant you control. We do have some recursion in here, so it's going to come up. So it's definitely doable. All right. This isn't a main strategy, but it's a nice little side benefit, especially like you got creature tokens and +1/+1s and more mana. Hey, can't complain. Twitching Doll. So 1 and a green for this artifact creature. It is a 2/2 spider toy. So scary. Add 1 mana of any color. Put a nest counter on Twitching Doll. So yeah, you can add 1 mana of any color, and you're going to start putting those counters on it, and then you can proliferate those counters. Tap and sack it. Create a 2/2 green spider creature token with reach for each counter on Twitching Doll. This is an important thing to point out. If you sack this to Xavier Sal, this does not happen. You need to tap this to activate this effect. This is not when it is sacrificed this happens. This is not just a straight up death trigger. So yeah, you gotta make sure if you want to use this, you don't sacrifice them to Xavier Sal. Is an important point. But yeah, making just a pile of tokens from your Proliferate is almost populating. Almost. Trail Tracker Scout. Add 1 mana of any color for this 1 and a green, 1/3 mana dork. And whenever you expend 8, that means spend 8 on spells. Return up to 1 target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Again, so if Insidious Roots is out, you take a creature, put it back to your hand. This will make a plant token, and all of your plant tokens get +1/+1. And then you're going to proliferate. So yeah. We've got other effects that let us also pull things out of our graveyard. This is not the only one. We've also got things like Evolution Witness, so we're not too... This isn't really what the deck is made for, but it does have it. Proliferate. Okay, Evolution Witness, so I was just talking about. Again, 2 and a green for this 2/1. It has adapt 2 for 1 and a green, meaning as long as it doesn't have any +1/+1 counters on it, pay this, put 2 +1/+1 counters. Super useful in a Proliferate deck. And whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Evolution Witness, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So every time you proliferate, you could just pull something out of your graveyard. It does have to be a permanent, is the major limitation there, but that is quite a huge benefit. Again, with Insidious Roots, that's what's going to put a plant into the battlefield and put +1/+1 counters out on all your planets. Like, oh boy. Azuri, Stalker of Spheres. I did a commander deck on him, actually. I really like that one. It's worth checking out. It's up around 60 now, so yeah. These go up in value very quickly. So when it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3, if you do proliferate twice. Again, so he is a 2 green-blue Simic for this 3/3. And whenever you proliferate, draw a card. So you can proliferate a lot with this deck, and you're gonna potentially be like, if Evolution Witness is out, you're gonna be pulling things out of your graveyard. If Azuri's out, you're gonna be drawing cards on top of that. Yoy. Replicating Ring. So this is 3. You can add 1 mana of any color. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter. It is a counter, so you can proliferate it. On Replicating Ring, then if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 color snow artifacts named Replicating Ring with add 1 mana of any color. So you're going to remove 8 counters as soon as it has 8, which is not going to take long in this deck. Then you get 8 mana rocks. And this is going to start again, right? The next upkeep, you put 1 counter down, you can proliferate those. And then, yeah. I think probably 3 turns you should be able to get like an extra 8 mana rocks. Oh my, ramp. As foretold, for 2 and a blue, this says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on it. So it does have the limitation where it's like at the beginning of your upkeep. So you're going to have to wait until the start of a turn to be able to do that. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than the mana cost for a spell you cast with Mana value X or less, where X is the number of time counters on this. So yeah, you cast this, the next turn it's going to get 1 counter, and then you can put a whole bunch more counters on it by proliferating, and then you can choose any spell you want and cast it for free. Every turn you get a free spell. The value on that is going to pay off very, very quickly, right? Most of our spells are not like really huge or anything. You can fairly easily get like an extra spell every turn. Probably after even the first time you get a counter on this, you're gonna proliferate. It doesn't say like the first spell or anything like that, right? You choose when this activates. So yeah, you don't have to activate it right at the beginning of your turn or the first spell cast or anything like that. Anytime during that turn, you can cast it for free. Oh boy, that'll be worth it while. Vents are a corpse puppet for a blue and a black. This is lifelink and toxic 1. Again, toxic means that when it does damage, they get 1 poison counter. Kind of infect, but fixed infect, I guess is. Whenever you proliferate, choose 1. So if you don't control a creature named Hallow Sentinel, make a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem legendary Phyrexian Golem. So you can only have 1 of these at a time, but yeah. A 3/3 token is not too shabby, right? Target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. Oh boy, right? So artifact, we don't have a lot of artifact creatures in here, but Venser is going to make one. And you can give it flying and lifelink. And then even that one that, yeah, I guess you can't populate this one because it's legendary, but yeah. We'll get some value out of that for sure. Reform for populate. So we got 3 in a blue for this 0/1. Sounds not good, right? But when it dies, create a 3/3 blue fish creature token with, when this dies, create a 6/6 blue whale. And then when that dies, create a 9/9 blue kraken. So this 0/1 turns into a 9/9 by dying. So you keep sacrificing this, especially if you can untap him, which you can. You're going to just sacrifice the next one, get to your 9/9, and then start populating that 9/9. And oh boy, that's going to be a problem. Ominous Seas for 1 in a blue. This is an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. Again, you play this, get some kind of card draw, and then populate, right? Or not populate, proliferate. And you're going to get those counters very, very quickly. Remove 8 foreshadow counters from Ominous Seas. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. Another way to make Krakens, right? Between your card draw and your proliferate, 8 is not a lot. And this can keep doing it. It's not like you sacrifice this after you make the 1 token. You can just keep going. So you'll probably be able to make multiple of these and populate them and make even more. Oh boy. Recon Craft Theta. So this does have proliferate, but it also is going to make a... So when it enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 blue alien creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. I'm just now realizing that doesn't work. Yeah, if you populate a 0/0, it's a 0/0 and dies immediately. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna keep that in because hey, it's good to see someone making mistakes sometimes. It's, you know, it's realistic. But also, whenever this attacks, you proliferate. So there's the good thing for proliferate, not for populate. Tender Wild Guide we talked about already. And we got Garrett Cursed Huntsman for 4 black-green. He starts with 5. So 6 CMC is not low, but this is one of our planeswalkers. For 0, create 2/2 black and green wolf creature tokens with, when this creature dies, put a counter on each Garruk you control. We do have 2 Garruks here. That's not a big deal. But again, if you populate one of those wolves, you can start sacrificing them, and every time you sacrifice them, both of you get +1/+1 counters. Or not +1/+1 counters, +1 loyalty. I feel like I said that wrong. Yeah, loyalty counter, right. Okay. Also, -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. Not bad. And for -6, this is one of the main things we like here, is the emblems. Remember, emblems are great because once you've got it, it's there. The rest of the game is just there. No one can touch emblems. They're one of the strongest things in the game. And this one says, all of your creatures get +3/+3 and have trample. +3/+3 and trample for everything. And you've got a whole bunch of things that are going to be massive from +1/+1 counters. Oh boy. Win con number 1. Commander damage. My first win con is always commander damage. This deck is not made for commander damage. I want to say that. Like, I can make it work, but it's not ideal. So anyway, of course, Xavier Sal, and then Master Biomancer. So hopefully you got anything that gives Xavier Sal +1/+1 counters. They can start proliferating. That would do it. And then Deep Glow's Gate. When he comes in, you can put double the number of counters on any creature or permanent you control. Or on any number of target permanents. So yeah, you get some +1/+1 counters on him, and then Deep Glow's Gate comes in and you double those. And he's probably not like still one-shotting, but again, he's not really... It could work. It's not plan A or B, is what I'd say. Win con number 2, Sucker Punch. I think I've used this pretty frequently. This is one of my go-tos. Champion of Lamholt, 1 green. Creatures with power less than Champion of Lamholt's power can't block creatures you control. This just makes it so they can't block you. This is so much better than trample. Just be like, no, you're not allowed to block me. Oh boy. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of Lamholt. Another creature. Whenever, it doesn't say another like non-token or anything like that. So tokens count, and it doesn't care if they all come in at once. It still counts per creature. That's very important. So Twitching Doll. Again, tap and sacrifice Twitching Doll to just make this horde of spider tokens. They're 2/2s, and they come in all at the same time. But you can make multiple of them. And yeah, she's going to, because they are creatures, she's going to just get this pile of +1/+1 counters all of a sudden. And then you're going to basically be able to like attack without anyone being allowed to block you. Especially the next turn is going to be crazy because you've got all these spiders that can't be blocked. Oh boy. Win con number 3, Infect. We haven't talked about Infect a lot yet. We're getting there, but yeah. Poison counters and things like Evolution Sage. Really any Proliferate. We've got so much Proliferate in this deck. Evolution Sage is one example. Every time a land comes in, landfall, Proliferate. We also have Flux Channeler. Any non-creature spell you cast, Proliferate. And yeah, so on. Xavier Sal, Proliferate. You know, like, you'll get it done quickly, that's for sure. Win con number 4, I win, Simic Ascendancy. So yeah, a blue and a green. For this enchantment, you can pay 1 green-blue, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Very important option to have. That first counter is the hard part, right? Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on target creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. That many. This is a part I misread before. So if you put 3 +1/+1 counters on something, Simic Ascendancy gets 3 counters on it. Even things like Master Biomancer are just going to automatically put things on for just having them enter the battlefield. So you've got like, if you've got Master Biomancer and Twitching Doll, sacrifice Twitching Doll, those spiders come in, they automatically get a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters. You might just win the game right there. Alright, so yeah. At the beginning of your upkeep, is the kind of major limitation there. so they have a chance to remove it. If Civic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. I win. That's it, just I win. Part 3, Combos and Tactics. So this is looking at the sub-themes mostly. Well, maybe themes / sub-themes. But anyway. Getting the most value, right? This is about value. Infect. Pretty big in this deck. Prologue to Phyresis. For 1 and a blue, this instant, each opponent gets a poison counter, draw a card. Card draw is nice. Everyone getting that first poison counter, that's how you win. Proliferating 8 times is not super difficult, and then you win. Yay. Infectious Inquiry. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, each opponent gets a poison counter. Draw 2 cards and poison counter for everyone. Yay. Once again, as soon as they have the first one, just keep proliferating, right? And game over. Noxious Assault. 3 green. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn, and whenever a creature blocks this turn, its control gets a poison counter. This is great because, like, if you've got, even a decent number of creatures, you can just launch them at someone, and all those creatures get +2/+2. If they block, they get poison counters. If they don't block, they take damage. So, real difficult decision. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. What is it? Sophie's Choice. That's what I was looking for, yeah. Bring the Ending. So for 1 and a blue, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. People don't like the tax counters. They are very good for countering other people's counter spells. That's what I think they're really useful for, because they usually don't have the extra mana held up. And Corrupted. If the spell counter that spell, if its controller has 3 or more poison counters, good chance they will, right? If you're doing it right, they should. Finally, Infectious Bite is an instant for 1 and a green. Target creature you control deals combat damage equal to this power to target creature you don't control. Basically, it's not fight, right? It is just dealing damage. One-way damage, not fighting. Each opponent gets a poison counter. So it's like removal plus poison counter. Real nice. +1/+1 count is pretty important in this deck, as you can imagine. Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Great start. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Card draw and just indestructible board at instant speed. For 2 and a green. Yes, please. So, yeah. So it's going to play that, like, board wipe, and you're going to be like, actually, I'll just draw a bunch of cards instead. Mean. Tyrant Guard. You can sacrifice this to give all of your creatures with counters on them hexproof and indestructible. Again, we're going to have ways to pull them out of our graveyard and recast them and do it again and again. He also has Ravenous, so if you pay X5 or more, he's going to get at least 5/5 or 5/1/1 counters, and you get to draw a card. Devoted Druid, we talked about already, but yeah, basically just another mana battery. Longshot Squad, all of your +1/+1 counter creatures now have reach. Gnarlid Colony, all of your +1/+1 counters have trample. So reach, trample, and just a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters. Also indestructible whenever you need it. Untap, Kiора's Follower, green and a blue for this 2/2. Tap to untap another creature. Kelpie Guide, 2 and a blue for this 2/2. Tap to untap another permanent you control. Not creature, it's target permanent. Also, tap target permanent, activate only if you control 8 or more lands. So it allows you to tap down someone else's stuff if you have 8 or more lands, which is not unlikely. Turnabout, just allows you to tap down everything one player controls or untap everything you control. For 2 blue is an instant that allows you to do this. Sorry, yeah. Choose artifact, creature, or land. Tap all untapped permanents that target chosen player controls, or untap all target permanents chosen permanents target player controls. So if it's someone else, tap down their stuff. If it's you, untap everything. Forensic Researcher, 2 and a blue for a 1/3 untap target permanent. Or Collect Evidence 3, tap target permanent you don't control. Again, Collect Evidence 3, just exile 3 value from your graveyard, I believe. Yeah. And Mercfiend Liege. Okay, Mercfiend Liege, I want to point out, sounds maybe really, really good. Is somewhat limited just because Xavier Sal's abilities can only be activated at sorcery speed. So he's still very useful because you can especially untap a bunch of like mana dorks and things like that. Great. But yeah. He's not really giving you extra access to your commander's abilities is the downside there. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Other blue creatures you control get +1/+1. That's some value. Untap all green and or blue creature tokens you control during... Sorry, not creature tokens. Blue creatures you control during each other player's untap step. So you're just untapping everything, all of your creatures, over and over and over. Xavier Sal doesn't get a whole lot of value out of that, unfortunately. Everything else does, so. Planeswalkers. Okay, Karth the Lion. Basically, what he does is, the major thing is, all of your activated abilities that Planeswalkers have, +1. So the Garruk the Huntsman has 0 to make those 2 wolves. You're going to make it a +1 instead, which really changes the math a lot. I actually did a deck on him as well. So you may reveal a Planeswalker. When he comes in, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a Planeswalker and put it into your hand. Yeah, that's very useful. You've got, I believe it's 6 Planeswalkers in this deck. So out of 7 cards, there's a pretty good chance you'll get at least 1, right? Not too shabby anyway. Deep Glow Skate. We talked about briefly. Again, when this comes in, you get to double the number of counters on any permanents you control. So all your +1/+1 counters, also loyalty counters on your Planeswalkers, not to mention a bunch of mana rocks that will have charge counters on them. You can double. The value on that is insane. Great for Planeswalkers activating those ultimates out of nowhere. Like you can be even just over halfway, play Deep Glow Skate, all of a sudden you're ready to activate everything. Get all those emblems, get all those, bonus effects. But anyway, Liliana's Talent for, what is that again? -8. -8, put all creature cards from all graveyards to the battlefield under your control. Steal all creatures from all graveyards and just throw them into the battlefield under your control. Yoy. Whenever a creature deals damage to a enchanted Planeswalker, destroy that creature. So this is enchanting a Planeswalker. If anything hits your Planeswalker, it gets destroyed automatically. Really nice little insurance there. Kasmina Enigma Sage. The main thing she has is that any other Planeswalkers you control get to use her abilities. So again, for a +2, you get to scry 1. It's not bad. It's really about getting that like +2 with Karth out becomes +3, so all of your Planeswalkers can get +3 every turn. And scry is a nice little bonus, sure. It's more about the counters. -X, put a fractal creature token into play. I don't really care about that one, honestly. And for -8, search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares a color with this Planeswalker. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So yeah, you're going to be able to, like, any Planeswalker you control can go search for any instant or sorcery you need. They just have to share a color with it, we do have all of our colors covered between planeswalkers, so you will be able to find something you want. Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner for 2 and green or blue. Simic, right? Whenever a creature you control with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, draw a card. Remember, creature comes in, put your +1/+1 counters on it first, and then check if they have 4 or more. Probably you're going to be able to draw cards pretty frequently if you're doing that. Especially if you've got, like, Master Biomancer or, like, Corpse Jack Mentor out. Corpse Jack Menace out. Probably going to do this pretty regularly. So, yeah. Also, for -1, you can untap target permanent. Untap is always nice to have. Another untap thing. And for 7, that means a lot of untapping. Anyway, this has been Xavier Sal, Infested Captain. If you give this deck a spin, please let me know. This is one I actually want to pick up as well. Anyway, take it easy.